Donald Trump never got the chance to breathe as president. Democrats, deep staters, and never-Trump grifters all played a role in this nefarious effort. Because they did everything in their power, didn't they, to drive him out of office long before he was sworn in. They illegally surveilled his campaign, smeared him as a Russian agent, forced him to spend millions of dollars in legal fees, threatened his family, dragged out the ridiculous Mueller investigation, impeached him for talking to the president of Ukraine. And when all that failed, they moved on to blaming him for COVID, then for the riots after George Floyd's death. And every step of the way, the small-minded men and women who make up the American left and the American press corps were complicit.
That Donald Trump is a criminal enterprise.
A presidency in peril. As we learn more about the Mueller investigation, the walls are closing in on President Trump and his inner circle.
It seems that Donald Trump, by mishandling COVID so badly, has branded himself as incompetent.
This is not the first time that Donald Trump has fallen short of being a leader. He has routinely called for violence and stoked the racial tensions in this country.
Oh my God, that was painful to watch. Well, early on, Trump pegged them as fake news, didn't he? And he refused to suck up to them like so many other politicians. And at some point along the way, reporters and producers who were once kind of semi-reasonable just became complete and utter partisan hacks. Their playbook consisted of downplaying or ignoring Trump's many achievements and hyping baseless allegations without any objective corroboration against him. Then by the fall, Democrats on the Hill and in newsrooms across the country had an urgent cleanup operation on their hands, and at that point they began to engage in a massive cover-up for Joe Biden's family, which had profited, of course, handsomely from son Hunter's unusual business dealings abroad. A computer store owner who had possession of his laptop came forward, and emails began to leak out. After the New York Post broke the story and began publishing Hunter's emails, only a few major outlets like Fox took it all seriously. Turns out actual dollar figures for Hunter's Chinese consultancy had been discussed, apparently with his father's blessing. One email mentioned a specific dollar amount set aside for the big guy who was widely thought to be Joe Biden himself. Well, this is when the Biden campaign's surrogates began circling the wagons.
It appeared in a tabloid that President Trump and his allies are really trying to seize on.
It's a series of buzzwords that have meaning, perhaps, if you've been studying, the Daily Caller or whatever it is.
This is an example of Steve Bannon giving a tip to a New York Post reporter, Rudy Giuliani, handing over a bunch of documents, and then Fox running with it for days on end, creating this appearance of a scandal involving Hunter Biden.
Are they that unself-aware? Creating an appearance of a scandal, what he just said, is all they tried to do for 4 years against President Trump. We now know this was all, though, a lie. They knew that Hunter was a sleazebag trying to profit off his father's high-powered government position. They knew that these emails potentially put Joe Biden's candidacy at risk in a close election. And if the roles were reversed, Stelter and all these other media marvels would have left no stone unturned to hold Trump accountable. Of course, the media and their Democrat colleagues had to throw sand in your eyes, though, so you wouldn't even see the story. They either didn't cover it at all, or they went to their Trump-era default mode. They blamed Russia.
This whole smear on Joe Biden comes from the Kremlin.
Every intelligence professional I've been talking to, Mika, says this is a Russian intelligence disinformation campaign.
It could have come from Russian military hacking of a Ukrainian gas company where Hunter Biden served.
Rudy Giuliani was dealing with alleged Russian intelligence agents.
Rudy Giuliani is effectively a Russian asset at this point.
This is what they were doing, grasping at straws. And in case that didn't work to keep the scandal at bay, they had to inject COVID into the Biden story in an attempt to kill it.
Trump is spending the week trying to make Hunter Biden a thing and sort of downplaying COVID.
We're kind of past the point where the president is going to take advice on COVID-19, which is why they're bringing in some of these other topics like Hunter Biden.
The truth is that we are in the middle of a pandemic. Instead of debating crowd size or unverified claims or conspiracy theories, we should be talking about policy, values, and ideas.
Okay. Again, it was publicly reported on October 21st that Biden's laptop had been seized by the FBI back in 2019. Now, it doesn't take a legal savant to know that this is a big deal. And it's when they should have started to ask a lot of questions. Just look at how the media, 6 weeks after the election, has changed its tune on this conspiracy theory involving Biden's son. Remember this October 19th headline from Politico saying the Hunter Biden story is merely Russian disinformation, according to dozens of former intel officials? Well, Politico now says the Justice Department's interest in Hunter Biden covered more than taxes. Then there was NBC's pathetic pre-election misdirection. How a fake persona laid the groundwork for a Hunter Biden conspiracy deluge. But this was their headline today. Hunter Biden tax inquiry focused on Chinese business dealings. And we shouldn't forget that major assist that Twitter and Facebook gave the Biden campaign, blocking any sharing of that original New York Post exclusive on Hunter. You got to hand it to these people. They play for keeps. Ethics and truth be damned. They couldn't risk any negative story on Biden getting any traction in October. They lied, and they covered it up. They maligned real reporters who were actually doing their jobs. And they left American voters in the dark to protect their feeble candidate. And now they expect us to see them as a check on the Biden administration? I think we need a fact check. And that's The Angle.